parallel to regular policing, where they might deal with more, but those skills that they have already make them a good person to kind of learn how to deal with them.
They obviously translate, but I don't think the experiences are anywhere near each other. Where like, yeah, you obviously deal with drunk people, but drunk people aren't like the biggest challenge for police officers. It'd be like domestic calls of like, you know, domestic violence or whatever, which I heard is one of the most dangerous like calls for a police officer.
That is true.
Yeah.
It's the most dangerous call for everyone. And they get plenty of that in the military too. Like domestic violence is a problem.
I wouldn't say plenty of it relative to civilian police. Like I think the amounts are just way fewer, like even per capita. Just like, again, the fact that
I'm just saying
the
that,
MPs
like,
I
those
talked to
things, like
had time.
specific calls
Yeah.
that you go to, you can learn that on the job. Like when you go to EMT school and they put you out on the street, like you don't know how to handle a cardiac arrest until you go to one, and then you learn how to handle it, and then you go to all. Like these are not skills that you like can't pick up, but what is hard to pick up is like a whole set of social skills for dealing with people who are drunk or compromised.
No, I think that's like one of the easier things to handle. Like, drunk people
Not
are
well.
like not.
Because if you handle it poorly, then it escalates into like violence. But if you handle it well, then it just like is just, oh, some drunk I dealt with. Like that's super important. People that could either become violent or not be violent based on the way that you act is like super important. It's the difference, but it's literally the difference between nothing happening and a fight and an incident report.
I don't know. I mean, I just think that drunk people are on the lower list of like difficulty wise for like what police respond to. Like if you made like a list of top 10.
Actually, I should clarify. I mean like drunk, belligerent, like regular standard calls, I guess. Like what you'd expect to see in a day. Like people getting in a fight, being unruly, or being like drunk and unruly, like just standard stuff that could escalate but doesn't if you're smart about it, which is super common. Like even like people like, even like this used to happen where like you have like an overdose and there's someone around the victim, and they don't want you to have access to them because they're scared that they're all going to get in trouble, but you have to get to the person because they're dying, but this person's really adamant, and they like you have to be able to kind of like smooth talk a little bit to be able to deal with that. That comes with finesse. Like if you're like a juiced up infantryman and you just fucking cap the dude in the head, like you haven't really done anything. Like that's not, like I'd rather have someone that's able to talk their way out of things.
Well,
that's a skill.
I mean, that's a misconception that infantrymen can't talk. Like again, they have to police other people overseas, and they have a lot more stringent rules to do so, which I guess would feed into. Well, actually, no. I would say that an infantryman has more police skills than a MP because infantrymen are dealing. Huh?
I don't think so.
Well, because infantrymen are dealing with foreign populations, and they have more stringent rules than MPs do on how to deal with them and how to police them.
Yeah.
So if anything, being an infantry soldier through experience will give you better police skills.
Didn't you also say that like recently the infantry hasn't been getting into anything, so they like are not useful right now?
Yeah, but also the MPs are also not. So like, but again, if we're talking about experience and what you do, I would say the infantry gets more valuable.
Because their job in garrison in the U.S. hasn't changed. Like the military police have been.
Yeah, but they don't do anything because the same training that MPs get.
Happen at bases. Hold up, give me.
Well, they usually happen they usually happen off bases for like guys getting like going to bars and getting in fights, whatever.
Hold up.
And then also, again, like I think an infantry member's experience.
Assaults and like felonies do happen on military bases. Like it happens less frequently, but it still does happen. Like it's not like unheard of.
Yeah, it also happens out in the field. Yeah, it also happens out in the field when infantry members are policing like in Afghanistan and Iraq.
No, I feel like I don't know what you're arguing.
Okay, well, if you listen, I'm saying infantry members, their experience, like policing, like other people. What? You never heard of infantry people in like the Middle East policing like
I know like what is.
Afghanis and
I mean, that's called occupation. Yeah, go on.
yeah. So
I
again,
would
they
say
have the
that,
job of
I would
policing these
say that
people,
like
talking to them, getting
I'd say that
familiar with
working
them,
in, like,
using
occupied territory.
interpreters. Like you recognize all that, right?
No,
Building
I do
rapport with,
know.
huh?
No, I'm just saying that that
But
job. Is
well,
a
I'm
lot
asking, do you
like,
recognize that?
if I can finish my sentence.
What are you gonna engage with what I said or not?
Yes,
Okay.
that job is very different from what regular police officers do. The job of an MP is much more similar to the job of a police officer than that is.
It's supposed to
Because
be.
just because it's intense doesn't make it like better practice,
It actually does.
does it?
Yes, they have a saying, bleed in train, or sorry, what is it? Sweat in training so you don't bleed in the field or something.
You know what they also say?
What?
If you train for stuff that you're not gonna do, you're not really gonna use your training. So train for stuff that you're gonna do.
What? That's fucking retarded. The fucking okay, we're just gonna go under a bunch of sayings, but fucking be a fucking warrior in a garden, then a gardener in war, whatever the fuck. Like, dude, that's like
You have, like,
your argument's like, okay, police officers shouldn't fucking train to shoot because
they
only
should.
118 people a day die in the
should.
U.S. in a population of 260 million. So there's
I say
like
that
almost
they
no
should,
point
but
for
it
them to
shouldn't
shoot.
be like their primary skill. Like I wouldn't rate the quality.
Well,
of
you wouldn't even make it like a second or tertiary skill. You'd make it like a fucking like the 10th skill they have, which is again like at that point you're just making them into people that.
No, I said I lumped everything into like number one, and then that is like number two. Like a lot, everything that I.
Yeah, if you lump everything into number one, it's not number two. If you start lumping a bunch of things, then it's like obviously it turns into a list. Like it goes to one, two, you know, like.
All right.
That's not how
I'm
lists
saying that
work. You
I
can't just
don't-
be like, well, I'm gonna put everything in number one, and then this will
Would
be
you
number
willing
two.
to say
Like,
that we should rate police officer, like the quality of a police officer, based off the quality of their shooting? Would you be comfortable as having that?
yes,
be
that would
the-
be a very important aspect because again,
No, no,
like,
no. But would you say that that should be like the primary metric that to which we rate police?
I would say that if you're a better shooter, you're less likely to take a life of like an innocent person or do like damage to other stuff that's like that you're not supposed to do damage to. So I would contribute like yeah, like being able to take a life higher than having people skills because at least you won't be making like as many mistakes. Because if you do like aggravate someone and something happens, then it'd be like, well, it'll be less likely of them like doing something or not killing an innocent or like not like caving under stress or something like that.
I mean, I understand. I don't. I think we're at like a because I understand your logic, but I just disagree from experience.
But what experience?
I was in the fire department for 5 years, and then I also ran EMS in like a terrible area for about a year.
Okay.
Coexisted with police a lot.
Okay, I probably coexist with police a lot more than you because I was a security officer. I literally had to work with them, write reports with them. Like, I basically did most of what they did, and I like basically worked with them like all the time.
I mean, like, I had like jurisdiction of an entire city, so I feel like you get to see like what actually goes on out there in the world besides, yeah.
Besides what?
I'm assuming if you're a security officer, you're guarding like one property, right?
There's mobile security as well.
Wait, so you just like patrol a city as a security officer?
Yeah, did that too.
Are you like hired by the city?
No. At least not my company specifically.
Oh, I don't really, I'm not familiar with this.
Well, but you would basically like drive around like a lot of different sites.
Oh, I mean like because like during domestic violence incidents, people get injured, so we go there too. So I'm just saying that I think that like I have a
Not all the time.
good experience of what happens in a city, like a lot, like pretty often. Like it's not uncommon. And we also have the same breaks, so we talk. So it's not like we're blind to other things that we don't go to.
All right. I mean, again, your argument was I work with them, and I'm like, yeah, me too. Like I deal with them every day. or dealt with them like every day for like minor things like trespassing and belligerent people
And I mean, like, I dealt with them for not so minor things also sometimes, and I just, yeah.
and
Like, I think,
also I'm usually the first person there, like talking them down with the people skills or whatever. So like, if anything,
yeah, that's important.
yeah.
Like, good stuff.
But I mean, like, no training in the world will make you good or bad at talking to people at all. That's just like a personality thing.
I think it could be learned over time. I don't think you can go through like a training program for it, which is why I said that like the MP experience is good because you deal with annoying people for a long time. You either like never want to do it again or you learn how to do it.
Um, I mean, I guess. I mean, like, if you berate someone enough with like information, I guess at some point they'll like accept it. Or something.
What?
If you berate someone with like information and skills, I guess enough times, at some point they'll like get it.
Yeah, that's why I said the MP experience probably translates well because it filters for someone who's like willing to put up with BS because that's what a lot of being a cop is, and it also filters for someone who was able to kind of pick up the skills required to do so.
Okay, so then I go back to my point for like infantry. They do that probably like, I guess when no, actually no, for the limited amount of time that they do that, I think it's like the experience is way more useful and way more of a learning experience than MPs like doing their job at like some base or whatever for how many ever years they have to do it for.
I don't have
Again, you're dealing, huh?
I'm just saying, like, I don't have too much on that argument specifically because I haven't considered it. Because every infantry person I spoke to who became a cop said that it was super different and took a ton of adjustment.
Well, because instead of you have less rules with dealing with foreigners than with your own people. It's like less stringent, less strict. You don't have to use an interpreter. I guess unless they're in like SoCal and they speak Spanish or something. You're not trying to develop like it's not necessary to develop a relationship with them, and you don't have to like bribe them and stuff like that. Try and get information and like with the community like specifically to make the area more safe. It's more like a job rather than like an objective you're trying to do to like flush like insurgents out. It just seems like being an infantry person back in like Afghanistan with like was it Iraqi peace or something like that as well, where like work with the communities, going there talking to like the village elders, all that. It just seems like a lot more than any police officer would do under more stringent rules and developing relationships, where like an MP doesn't focus on developing relationships at all with like other military members. They just kind of like show up, arrest them, or whatever. MPs are like by the book. Their people skills are usually lesser.
About, like an entire job that you're getting from just like a conversation with someone.
What?
Like I feel like your characterization of MPs is kind of really specific.
I mean, I did talk with two, and then I've watched like I think I watched like one or two MPs on YouTube.
Okay, I mean, I've never heard like yeah. I just
like,
think that like any policing job is good, especially one that's I'd say that like the more similar like the training and job is to another one, like the better it's gonna translate. Yeah.
I would disagree with that. I would say that experience is king, and you could have like the most direct training ever, and it will still not prepare you to be a police officer or anything, or a good police officer. And the experience that
you go through training and become a good police officer.
Well, isn't that the argument of like how well it would like? I mean, if it translates well, that means like you'd basically be a good police officer, because like the point of about a police officer isn't like the paperwork
No, not just
and
the
like
training,
the
but, like,
policies.
the time in the job.
What?
No, not just like the train. Like I don't think that like someone just passing the training means all that stuff. I mean like them passing the training and then doing like their term in the military with no problem and a desire to continue in law enforcement. I think that's the filter for who might be a good cop.
Again, like
If you just go
the
through
experiences
academy,
of
you
being
don't
an
go
MP
down
versus
life.
being a police officer in the U.S. seem to be significantly different. To where like just because an MP guy is like, oh, I don't want to deal with like military guys or whatever, and they like sit around mostly, and then sometimes there's like a call or whatever, or like police officers in like civilians are doing like 10-hour shifts, like or 12-hour shifts sometimes, or even like
That's
they'll even
also
pull
like
like a 24-hour shift as well, like if they're really underfunded and under
I mean, the military does long shifts, and also I know a lot of cops who also like to sit in the patrol car and like wait for calls and just kind of respond to calls and then go back to their like posted area.
yeah,
That's
but the
like a
calls
pretty
they
common
receive is way more often than MPs.
I don't have the data to back that up or not back that up. I'm not sure, but I think that just because regular cops might have to respond to calls more often doesn't mean that they're the experience responding to them more often won't translate, or less often won't translate. Like even if you're not responding to those calls as much, I think that the fact that you respond to them in general translates well, and you'll learn with more frequency. Like you can catch up with the tempo. Like I think
Maybe.
that the skill set of an MP would translate well, because even if you're not responding to the same call volume, you're responding to the same call types, and you're handling the same types of situations, even if not the same frequency. Like
I think a
frequency is
big
gonna
thing
have
for
consistency.
I think a big thing for police is the frequency. It's like the most like, because it's like the most stressful thing that I hear from police is the whole like you don't know if it's gonna be like a dangerous call or a mundane call or whatever, so you're always on edge. And then also like it's like 10 to 12-hour shifts, so it's that for like 10 to 12 hours, and like it's like you don't know if you're gonna get called off your break, and it just seems like the time under tension is just like is one of the primary like stress factors. Not like the actual dangers or whatever, but just like the time of like being alert and ready.
I mean, yeah, that's an extra challenge, but that doesn't take away from the fact that
I think it's the main challenge.
yeah, but military lifestyle is like notoriously stressful. So I think that that's why
I would disagree with that. I think it's
really you don't
from
think that the
what
military
people
is
say, it's
stressful?
mostly boring.
I mean, from my understanding, the military is highly stressful. Even people who didn't deploy can develop like psychological problems because of it. It's extremely stringent.
I don't think
rigid stuff.
I don't think the
You get
psychological
like
problems are
hazed
from.
to shit if you fall out of line.
I
It sounds extremely rough, actually.
think hazing is like not a like legal practice. In the
It's not legal, but just You think that hazing does not happen in the military at all right now?
not as often. No.
Not as often, but it still happens.
Not anywhere where it used to be at all. Like it might happen like secretly in some places, but it won't happen in like anywhere official like before.
Yeah, I mean,
And in
like,
that aspect, there is also hazing for police departments. So.
I would say hazing is probably more of a problem in the military than in police departments. But even past that, yeah, the rule set that you have to live with in the military is notoriously strict.
Is it?
Yeah. You have to get like fucking room inspections and shit.
That's not that's like basic training. That's not like once you're
No, you
like
get
a
room
normal.
inspections like in real life, like like in the barracks and stuff. Not as often. It's not daily. But
Yeah,
command
there's
training-
like a code. There's like a code that your personal living space is supposed to be maintained to.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is, but
There
people
are
aren't
barracks
like
checks.
usually checking on it unless like some iffy shit's going on or people are doing like an
I
investigation.
don't think
or
that's
something.
exactly
not
true
true.
either.
That's not true. They will do it just on a whim. They'll just do it whenever.
I
it
think you're
depends on your
confusing
unit.
like a normal
on
military
your
dude with
command.
like basic training.
No,
like, basic
he's
training,
not.
Yeah, it'll just happen
No.
like all the time, whatever. But
He's,
like,
he's not. It happens. No,
I know
there
a few
are.
people from the
Yeah,
JP
there's
that
literally
work
like
on
like you can literally go on Reddit and read stories about how like the military officer
Yeah.
came to do like
an
inspections on a
officer
certain
like
day,
infantry.
and that like the dude who was like in charge of making sure shit was like together fucked up. Like yeah, like this is like regular like and
It's also
they're not even
you're
scheduled
enlisted. No one just
inspections
like
most of the
leaves stuff
time.
around. Yeah. Command can just mess with you and like document it away. That happens. There's a notorious amount of sexual assaults. It's a rough environment. Like if you're telling me that like the infantry is just like super chill, like you're shitting yourself. Like that's.
yeah.
Yeah, if you don't show up to work, you go to jail. That's another one. If you just leave, you get arrested.
Okay.
Oh, he's on the phone.
Good.
Or talking
Yeah,
to
I'll
his
be
roommate.
just I forgot. It's like
I've been listening to the whole time, but like, what the
Hey,
fuck
me
are
and
you guys
Sal are
talking about?
I
Dude, it's
said
like
that
just
people who are
telling way
military-
too much personal information right now. How does it review? He's I think he's in a call or something.
Yeah, he is. I said that the Zay would make a good cop because he has experience as a military police person. Not all, he wasn't an officer. And then Neon said that he's a pussy, and MPs are pussies, and cops are way tougher, and infantry people are better for police work.
Like military infantry.
He says that infantrymen would be better cops than military police.